What's up everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Is it Imba or Do I Suck? And today we have a very special replay, as it's the first replay that got sent to me by a Chinese fan. Let me read the email. I'm your fan from China and I love your IO this very much. I'm a master about 4600 in Chinese rank. However, when I played with an Imba Z, who is about 3800, he made me sick with flying dragons. Even though I beat him in the end, I didn't think it was the right performance as a Protoss. Perhaps I am suck, but ZERG is really Imba. After that game, I didn't even want to play PvZ anymore. So big words. I can't read Chinese characters, so I don't know this person's name. But our first Chinese fan is very serious about ZERG being overpowered, and especially the flying dragons. So we're on a discovery journey here. We're figuring out whether Mr. Derivative is sucking or if ZERG is imbalanced. And we're also gonna find out what unit the flying dragon is. I'm gonna guess it's the Muta list, but it could also be Brute Lords, of course. Well, let's head straight into the game. As we see a 12 Poo starting out of Water Blue, who is the flying dragon player. The ZERG, the Imba Z. We have Derivative starting with a standard 1 gate expand on the other side of the map. A quick scout, so Derivative will be able to see it. Let's see what his response will be to everything here. Oh, he scouts, sees the spawning pool, sees the links about to pop. What do we do, Derivative? We build a Cybercore, a Zealot, a Pylon, and a second gate. Oh, second Pylon already had started. That's very nice. Perhaps a Chrono Boost on the Zealot. Second Zealot. No second Zealot. Just a single Zealot into 2 gate. Shouldn't have let this finish. It's not useful to let it finish. Like, you can just cancel it and rebuild it if you really need to. But most of the time you don't even need to. And now you could just build Adept. Or you go Nexus into Adept. Getting a second gas just delays your natural, which usually is quite bad for Protoss. Ideally you want to be expanding as fast as possible, especially because the ZERG only built 4 links, or maybe 6 links. Like, this is a very low link count, and you want to get your eco up as quick as possible as well against this. I like the double Adept, that's good. You can do some counter damage with that. As long as there's no speed links out, 2 Adepts will be able to do a lot of damage usually. So that should be good. Now we have this Zealot still trying to do something, but that honestly doesn't look too scary here for Derivative. Once the 2 Adepts pop out, yeah, there we go, links will be pushed back. Now this Pylon is annoying me and it's probably also annoying Derivative. He should have already built some kind of tech, as we see he's floating a lot of money right now. He also hasn't been continuously building workers, which is always a mistake. You always want to continuously be building workers. So we see the 2 Adepts making their way across the map to the other side. Shade finishes, get both of those links. So early defense hasn't been super good, but I think it has been good enough that Derivative is in an okay position, right? He's up 5 workers, there's no third base yet, speed isn't on the way yet. ZERG is playing double gas, which is a poor response. He's banking a lot of money. And once this Nexus finishes and this Pylon gets killed eventually for an easier time for units to move out, or especially probes, Derivative will be in a good location. Now this is a mistake. You never shade into a natural when you see 3 queens and links and there's no drones. Because your goal is to trade with drones, not with links. Don't forget, every time you shoot a link, that's 25 minerals. Every time you shoot a drone, that's 50 minerals. You never want to be fighting queens. If he would have shaded into the main base, he probably also shouldn't have let it finish. Usually, if there's more than 6 links, plus a queen, or 6 links and a queen, or there's 3 queens and 2-3 links, you never ever go in with your Adept, as it's just gonna be a bad trade. Unless, of course, the links are out of position and you can get like 3-4 workers. Now, meanwhile, we have an Oracle transition coming out of Derivative. He's also going into a Twilight Council, and he will be going up against a 2-base layer off of 2 gas so far. This Oracle will be able to kill a single worker. Some bad target fire. Just shift click 2 drones and then fly away. And if that doesn't work, just fly away immediately, honestly. Like, no use getting this much damage on your Oracle. It's not worth your time and effort. And also the health of the Oracle, honestly. So, charge lot as a follow-up. Now, what has Derivative really seen? He is not aware of the gas count. He doesn't know if there's any gases here. What tech is he aware of? Well, he sees a spore here. He's not aware of the spire here. So, he doesn't quite know exactly what's happening. If you're playing against a 2-base ZERG, it's always wise to scout for their, you know, if they have a 3rd base and check their gases. If you see 4 gas, perhaps it's Muta. Also, it's nice and kind of easy to scout tech if you're playing against a 2-base ZERG. And it's very important that you do that. Derivative, however, isn't really scouting anything. He's going for a charge lot attack. He most likely will be facing Mutas. He should have taken down this pylon before and taken a 3rd as well already, probably at this point. That's usually a wise decision to play. Now we see these 3 oracles. These are the guys that need to get the information here for Derivative. And as long as they don't have any information, it becomes really difficult to respond, right? You can just blindly start building phoenixes, which would be the correct response, but you can't just do that. I wouldn't mind him building a single phoenix just to clear overlords around the map in general. Oh, that's nasty. The way you want to micro this is you poke in and you move away. You poke in, move away every time you pick off a drone. But you don't just want to fly in and start targeting drones like he did and then lose an oracle. You need to be able to micro away. Now, what kind of info did Derivative get here? We see he got the info of 2 extra gases. He isn't aware if there's a 3rd base or not. He hasn't scouted any tech yet. He knows there is a layer. So right now the only real options are either roach speed. That's why the layer would be there. Swarm host, spire for Muta, or perhaps Hydralisks. Now, he needs some kind of information. He needs to know how to respond. I also don't like that he's not expanding, because you don't actually want to attack into a 2-base ZERG. You want to defend while taking a 3rd base, while getting your better upgrades. You want to do that with proper information. Now, going for a blind Archon drop is probably a bad call. Like, even if he would be getting all-in by roaches, or if he would be getting Nidus Swarm Host, you don't want to be on the other side of the map with this Archon. Same against Mutalisk, you don't want that. Now, Mutalisk barely missed this prism. No, they don't miss this prism. Oof, some Chinese voices. Now we see this prism is gonna get caught, which is bad, obviously. And this is also one of the reasons why you don't just want to blindly move across the map. Now, the good response for Derivative here would be to start building phoenixes immediately. But Derivative is a bit slow. He still hasn't killed this pylon yet. Decided to rebuild 5 pylons. There's not a single battery here. There's nothing to defend the mineral line. Battery starts way too late. Phoenix starts way too late. These stalkers won't be able to get in because you just recall this oracle instead of recalling all these stalkers, which actually can shoot up. And now Water Blue is just in his mineral line. And I'm starting to assume the flying dragons indeed are the Mutalisks, and the Mutalisks are going pretty ham. Gonna be able to kill a lot of the workers here, but this is not the response you want against 2-base Mutalisks. Like, you want to defend against 2-base Mutalisks, get your own 3rd base, then you just max out, or you get a better army, and then you kill your opponent. But if you start a base trade scenario, it always becomes very difficult to play against Mutalisks. Completely forgetting to micro his Phoenix. Happens to the best, of course, just forgetting to control your units. Probably way more important things on the other side of the map. Probably was right-clicking this spore a couple of times. Big plays here out of Derivative. I mean, this base trade is going quite well, but only because the ZERG is not actually base trading. Like, the ZERG is like, oh crap, let me just go back with everything, I guess. If the ZERG was actually building spines and killing all the workers with his Mutalisk count, Derivative would be in so much trouble right now, and he probably would have lost already. Like, he's only really alive because the ZERG doesn't really have a clue how to base trade, and also because the ZERG is too afraid to attack 8 stalkers with 16 Mutalisks. Like, these Mutalisks, they have +1 as well. They would definitely be able to kill these 8 stalkers, and then the game just kind of ends. Even now, the ZERG is still very far ahead, right? He's up 18 workers. All he needs to do is build like 10 spines over here, and then just keep killing workers, keep base trading basically, and make sure that he can't die. So here come the Mutalisk again. Now, at this point, there's not that much Derivative can do, as his workers are basically all lost. I wouldn't mind if he continues Phoenix production though, just a couple, to make sure that he that he can defend these mineral lines. If you get like 2-3 phoenixes with a battery, that's really quite powerful. Now, this army is absolutely awful in base rate, but it's actually kind of good in a direct engagement. So I think Derivative might be barely able to win a fight like this, or barely get cleaned up. It's gonna be quite close. Actually, I think Water Blue will be able to clean this up. Then all of a sudden there's no anti-air anymore. Third base will be built here for Derivative, so it's actually gonna go into a macro game. And I guess he will be able to trade out some zealots for workers, which would be quite nice. As he's still down in workers, of course. Now, during all of this, he actually hasn't produced a single worker. He is getting a third base. He's oversaturated in the main base. He's undersaturated in the natural. There's an easy fix for that. Send a couple of workers from your main to the natural, or saturate your gases for all I care. He should have continuously been building phoenixes. Like, he's completely dead. If this Zerg spends even just 25% of this money, there's no way in hell that Derivative is going to be able to win this. A couple more stalks are being warped in. Still no phoenixes, my friend. Phoenixes are a good counter to Mutalist. The only problem is that you need to micro them, which is something that Derivative hasn't been doing all game. As instead of microing, he's just been either A moving or, I guess, move commanding into armies. Once again, no proper defense of these probes, just keeps rallying them in. While the natural is still completely undersaturated. Why would you rally into a vulnerable base when you have a base with a cannon and a battery that still requires 8 more workers to mine at full capacity? Like, a lot of the time, these kind of games, they're very difficult to win. But there's still so many things you can be doing way better. Finally, we restart Phoenix production, which is important. Stalker's trying to get into position, but only 1 Phoenix at a time. It's just kind of painful to watch. Another thing that Derivative could be doing is just sending 1 or 2 zealots around to try and kill some workers on the other side of the map, either at the third base when that finishes, or at the natural. It also pushes the mutas back and gives you some breathing room. Zealot run-bys always work like that, like in every situation, even against mutas. Even if your zealots get caught over here, imagine losing 2 zealots over here, that's still better than mutas continually harassing your mineral line. It gives you a lot of time, it gives you some space to move around, maybe set up another run-by. But Derivative isn't doing any of that. He just keeps building more and more units and just defending the only area that actually doesn't need any kind of defense, and that is this area right now, which is completely useless. Still, no saturation in the natural. We still see so many good patches here. Derivative, what's happening? As the flying dragons keep flying around, you know, doing what the dragons do best. Now, once again, if the Zerg throws down a Roach Warren at this point, or just any tech structure, or just spends like part of his money, this game is completely over, and Derivative would have a solid loss at his hands. We do see him with 3 phoenixes. However, he's not really tracking the mutas with this. He's just using the phoenixes as an extension of his army, which doesn't make much sense. The power of the phoenixes is that they slightly outrange the mutalisk, and in combination with batteries, they're very easy to keep alive. So they're very good defensively, and you can kind of follow mutalisk with them, right? You don't actually need them with your army. They don't do great against ground units, they don't kill links very well, they're not even great against queens, but against air units they're pretty cool. So that's why you always want to be chasing mutas with them and microing them. Like, this army doesn't need much micro anyway, this ground army. So we see Water Blue just continuously expanding across the map instead of actually trying to spend a bit of his money. Still no real defense here for Derivative, who is engaging in the base trade of a lifetime in his mind. Water Blue is moving out with the majority of his drones now, and we see a recall into the base. I mean, this is actually what you're kind of supposed to do with the phoenixes, is you just go to the mutas, you poke them, you go back, you poke them, you go back, you poke them, you go back. That's all you keep doing again and again. And as long as you keep doing that, like, you're also wasting the time of the mutalisk, you know? They won't be able to kill stuff while they're busy chasing your phoenixes. That's very important that you don't lose your phoenixes, because the bigger your phoenix count, the better they get, really. If you get like 8-9 phoenixes out, all of a sudden these mutas become not completely useless, but they become a lot more useless. Like, just chasing becomes a lot easier. You see him picking up units here, and this is what he should have been doing all game already. He should have been using 3-4 Phoenixes and then getting up to 5-6 Phoenix and just chasing the Mutas again and again. Hell, he could have been doing this while expanding. We see 2 Archons stuck. I mean, who really needs Archons anyway, right? It's just a base trade. 2 Archons is, what, 8 supply out of 63 supply. That's only like 10-12% of his army right now. It's way better to be defending this little ridge than have them in your army against Banelings and Mutas. Hell, he probably would have actually completely destroyed this fight, but I'm sure Derivative is very glad that these Archons were gazing into the future. Oh, what do you see? Fog of War. Great. Quality play here, Derivative. Somehow manages to keep 4 Stalkers alive, because Water Blue forgets that 4 Stalkers don't actually beat 7 Mutas and 6 Lings. He also, Water Blue has some of the weirdest expanding habits. Like, this base actually never got attacked. He just ran away from it. He was like, this is too dangerous at this point, you know. I might accidentally lose that, as we still have the 2 Archons. Still quite haven't figured out how to get through past this hole. So we'll be attacking this gate. Finally gets it down. Only took him 3 minutes, so very quick reactions here by Derivative. And here come the Flying Dragons again. We'll be taking out a pylon rather quickly, and the drones, after having expanded on the other side of the map, decide to go back to this base. This is peak StarCraft here, boys. I mean, we have a ZERG who consistently had been floating 2.5k minerals, actually getting close to running out of money because he's long distance mining gas across the map. I've never seen this before. Like, Derivative should not be in this game anymore, but somehow he still is. So we see more Flying Dragons coming in. Now 11 Flying Dragons against 4 Archons and 4 Stalkers. Now, this Stalker force should never ever be able to move out. This is good, by the way. This run by is good. I would love if it's just 1 or 2 Zealots and he scouts around a bit with them. But in general, like, this is not a bad play, I think. It's actually a pretty good play. And if you can pull the Mutas away and then take out another base at the same time, that would be pretty big. I think at this point also we're gonna need to see more Phoenixes being built, because you need something to track this army with. Like, you need to know where this flying army is at all times. And that's very easy to do with Phoenixes, and sometimes you can even do some damage. At this point I also wouldn't mind a split of army, right? You leave 2 Archons at home. Archons trade extremely well against Mutalisk and against Lings, which is everything that Water Blue has here. So if you just leave 2 Archons, 1 Zealot at home at these batteries, that's basically safe. And then the rest of your army can just roam around the map and kill every single base it meets. As long as there's no roaches out, this should absolutely be a winning strategy. Instead, we see Derivative is just moving out with everything and just gives up his base instead of leaving 2 Archons behind. I mean, he's not gonna get much of a fight from anything that Water Blue has, right? Like, Mutalisks are so bad at fighting. Now he warps in 2 Stalkers, moves them straight away from the battery, of course. Wouldn't want them to be safe, as Water Blue takes out every single cannon, and this is where the full base trade, I guess, kind of starts. And our boy Water Blue has been preparing for this for the past 7 minutes. Like, this base hadn't even been attacked yet, but it already was evacuated, my friend. These drones were long gone. The only thing that Water Blue hasn't thought of yet is building production structures at other bases, so it's most likely just not going to be able to produce anything. Now, once again, of course, this army could have been split in half and this game would be completely over, but now this game is getting a lot more exciting, so it's always good to see the players think about the audience as well, you know. You always want to create good games for your fans, and our boy Derivative definitely is creating a good game for the fans here. He could have won about 1 million times already just by building Phoenixes or splitting his army semi-competently. Scouting for any hidden bases, you know. Just anything really would have done the trick. So we see a full recall now. Actually accidentally leaves 2 Archons behind. And it's fine to leave 2 Archons at home where there's batteries and cannons. But if you just leave 2 Archons randomly on the map, and there's 19 Mutas and 16 Lings, you're just gonna lose these 2 Archons if the ZERG is paying attention. And just like that, you threw away, well, about 600 gas for free. For absolutely no reason, if the ZERG was paying attention. Luckily for Derivative, The ZERG decided to not pay attention. Continues building flying dragons and a spawning pool. Oh, it's 2 Archons. At least one of them will fall. I think. Yeah, one of them will fall. Second Archon is making their way to the top right side. Now, at this point, I actually don't think there's very much that Derivative can do, except build units. I mean, he does have 1200 minerals, and it's not like there's that much going on in this game that he doesn't have the time to spend his money, right? Like, mate, it's very difficult for me to believe that this amount of money takes about 2 minutes to come in, right? So this just means that he hasn't been producing anything for the past 2 minutes, which is just rather impressive for me. He's just been looking at his army. Now, 4 Templar get warped in the moment the Mutas fly into the main base, and if Waterblue was paying attention, these 2 could have died. Nah, we're just gonna see. No, not a single one. Not gonna die either. Alright, no micro, that's fine. Waterblue once again with a second spawning pool, now is on the other side of the map. And Derivative finally realized, hey, wait a second. I think if I split my army somewhat well, maybe he can't fight, or maybe if I spend some of my 1600 minerals, maybe I can split my army and just be completely fine. He rebuilds a spire, Waterblue. It's just fantastic to watch this, isn't it? Because Mutas are really what he needs right now, not anything to counter the Archons. Just more Muta-less. Actually, he's floating 1600 gas as well and 2k minerals. His Derivative just keeps trying to expand on 15 workers, trying to play the late game. Half the worker supplies of his opponent. Absolutely no clue how many bases there is on the map. Like, no real vision. Instead of just splitting his army and going for, you know, hoping for the best. I think that's really the best call at this point. We see some more zealots being warped in. Finally, some of that money being spent. Now, he is aware there's a base here. He saw creep here, but for some reason, Derivative isn't too fond of denying bases. He knows there's a layer here. It's like, this is where I want to go. Run-bys might be a little bit too difficult to execute, so this base will remain mining till the end of time, I guess. Double gas is being taken at this base, as well as here. Yeah. And the flying dragons come back into the main base. This is... If this is what all games look like on the Chinese server, I want more of those replays, boys. Like, this is exciting stuff. This is a world I've been denied so far, and you know, sometimes you figure something out in life and you're really sad that you didn't figure it out earlier in life. I'm having one of those moments right now. Like, I wish I was aware of how much superior the Chinese server was to the European server replays for Is It Imba or Do I Suck? Holy crap. These guys are really making a game out of it. More long distance mining. Instead of just mining from this base, we have Waterblue long distance mining from 2 bases at the same time. Is high level stuff right here. More flying dragons. There's 23 right now. And he's running into the supply block of a lifetime as well. I don't think Waterblue actually has injected anything in the past 20 minutes or so. It's completely supply blocked. They actually is getting very close to taking out all the Nexi right now, as there's more links on the map. There's still some drones roaming around. I love that he's just... You know, the one thing I really need right now is what Waterblue thinks is more extractors. So we have Derivative just continuously moving around the map. Gonna be able to finally find the base with the Spire. This is actually turning into quite an exciting base raid right now. Like Nexus in random locations, random extractors, more random extractors, another Nexus. Because Derivative, don't forget, had been saving up for his retirement. Or perhaps for the next game. Now all of these buildings are going down. Half of the Mutas not fighting. There's 23 Mutas, there's 6 Archons and 10 Stalkers. I think it's still possible to do a 50-50 split of this army. Defend your structures and roam around with another part of your army. Oh! Jesus. Okay, he only lost 5 Mutas there. That could have been a lot worse. Oh, is our friend Waterblue aware of everything? I'm not quite sure. I just love that Derivative's plan is like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna defend this base. Look at this. This is some... I don't know what this means. He's probably complaining about flying dragons. 2,000 flying dragons is what he's saying. I took Chinese in elementary school. ZERG is broken. Chinese dragons... No wait, flying dragons are broken. I'm supposed to win this game. I love it. He's queuing up probes instead of building pylons. He has a single worker. This guy is gonna have the job of a lifetime, really. As finally we actually have an army split. It took him 15 minutes of base trading to realize that splitting his army might be good. I am so happy right now. I actually couldn't be happier. This is what... Except he should really defend this base. Mate, you have a single probe. If you can't build pylons with this anymore, you just lose the game. No, don't let it die. Hello, Derivative. Derivative. Come. Oh, look at this. Micro. Nexus dies. New Nexus on the way. Single probe still remaining. This army just idling because, I mean, are we really in a hurry? No, we still have one pylon left and the Nexus at 10 HP. Not too much of a hurry. What's still on the map here, boys? There's no drones left, that's for sure. There's a single base. He could actually just build 2 overlords and continue building drones, but Waterblue hasn't been making the hottest decisions this game either, so I can't really complain too much. And all Derivative needs to do right now is just find the bases and not lose this. And he's going to be completely fine. Trust me, he's going to be in a wonderful position. But it is, of course, kind of scary. Oh, does find one of the extractors. Knows there's an extractor here. Went into the base with the zealots as well. Then decided it's not worth it. Then decided it is worth it after all. 3 overlords being produced. So Waterblue realizing. It's like, alright, he knows what to do. He knows what to do. So we have Waterblue scouting around for the Nexus, not quite finding it. And this is a good play by Derivative. So it only took him 15-16 minutes to realize that splitting his army probably would win him the game. Oh, Mr. Derivative. Oh, gets spotted by the Mutas. This base still not found. 2 drones instead of mining, moving it across the map. Come on, just mine a little, my friend. Just a little bit. Yeah. Another hatchery. Please build an extractor with this. This would make my day. See some nice Muta micro. But I mean, there's too much stuff right now, right? I don't think there's a lot the ZERG can do. Why would he recall? You're seeing it, mate. You're seeing it. It's here. Yes. Yes. It's here. Get it. Oh, there's another base here. This is never gonna end. I'm gonna be stuck in this replay for the rest of my life. With you guys. This has to be some kind of meme. Oh, this base falls. And now we have the remaining forces of Derivative chasing the Mutalisk. Zealots first, of course, because in case the Zealots ever catch up with the Mutalisk, they might be able to dance underneath them or punch the sky. I think this is it, boys. No, this has to be it. Derivative actually is playing this out well, you know. Except I'm not quite sure where his probe is. Here's the probe. Might want to send it back to mining or something. Do something useful with it. But yeah, this is the play. You know, you send around Zealots, you send around a second army, and then you're gonna be completely fine. But it took him a while, didn't it? 7 Mutas remaining against 6 Archons. No GG. Wow, wow, wow. Mr. Derivative. Mr. Derivative. Yeah. First of all, let me state that I'm extremely happy. I've been getting a few more Chinese replays, and this was the first of, I can only assume, many Chinese replays that we're going to be watching in the Is It Imba or Do I Suck? as this was an absolute blast. So thank you very much for that derivative. But holy cow, the pylon wall at the start, the complete lack of scouting, the losing the prism to 10 mutas without even dropping the archons in time initially. What else do we have? The 2 archons that stayed at home looking into the fog of war instead of joining your army to win the game. Building the lack of phoenixes whatsoever. The unsaturated natural. I don't think I'm gonna have enough hands for this. What else was there? Unsaturated natural. Just the rallying of probes into the unsecured third. The complete want of the complete, well, whatever it was, lack of splitting army for the first 25 minutes of this game. Like 8 things, my friend. Mutalisks can be hard to deal with, I agree. But Mutalisks aren't the issue. Or the flying dragon was not the issue, my friend. You were the issue. And the issue with you is that you suck. That's just the way it is, my friend. That's just the way it is. Alright, boys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe. Doomzoop. Slap the like button. And put a comment down below if you also think that flying dragons are too powerful. Alright, love you all. And I think we had a bit of a first, first Chinese replay, and the first time someone sucked and actually won at the same time. So absolutely fantastic. See you boys next time for a new video.